I'm also astonished that people of faith aren't intrigued by the fact that there are so many religions in the world. They just seem to ignore this. I don't understand how anybody could not at least look at that and question it a little bit. It's almost like the blinders go on, because if I question it, then I might start believing that my religion is bunk, and then I might start believing that nothing's going to happen to me when I die, and I can't accept that. I mean, there's just so many questions about all of this stuff and all the other religions in the world, and I don't understand. I just simply don't understand how at least people can't just look at that and go, wow, okay, that doesn't make sense. I need more proof that at least my religion is the real religion. And that's kind of what I did, is I wanted proof that, you know, that what my parents and what my teachers told me was true, that the religion that I was a part of was the one true religion. And, you know, it was a fact-finding mission of sorts. And the more I dug into it, the more I realized there were no facts. So I started watching lots of debates with the great atheists like Dawkins and Hitchens, both extremely brilliant men. I started buying books on the topic and reading them as well. I really wanted to see what both sides had to say so that I could decide for myself. Well, needless to say that the evolutionists had mountains and mountains of evidence, and creationists had absolutely none. The more and more I looked at religion, the more and more it seemed man-made to me. So now I'm going to move on to some of the major arguing points that you see in almost every religious debate. The first one that often comes up is the question of morality. Now, creationists often try to attempt to connect morality with religion. People without religion have no foundation for morality, or at least that is their argument. Now, the first thing I'll say to that is, I don't need a babysitter to tell me what's right or wrong. When my parents taught me morality, what was right or wrong, I believed it and accepted it and became a moral person because of it. If a priest had told me the same thing, it would have been no different. Religion had nothing to do with any of those lessons. How is it that if it came from my parents it wouldn't work, but if it came from a Catholic priest it would work? Is it because with religion there's the threat of hell? That my parents couldn't give me enough of a threat for me to be a moral person? That I needed something worse? I am an atheist and I have morals. I would say the majority of atheists have morals. The majority of religious people have morals. And there are very immoral atheists and there are very immoral people of religion. If you're a moral person only because your religion told you to be moral and only because you're worried about hell, then I think you got big problems. Morality is taught and learned, and religion is in no way necessary to teach those lessons. Now, religion does attempt to teach morality, but to imply that religion is necessary to make a person moral is ridiculous. So then the creationists will fire back with, well, what about Hitler and Stalin and Pol Pot? They imply that their lack of religion made them the power-hungry murderers that they were. That maybe if they'd had religion in their lives, they would have been good people. They say that the fact that they were power-hungry madmen didn't factor into their behavior at all. But if we had just scared them with hell, well, that would have made all the difference. And the truth is, none of these men did anything in the name of atheism. They were just evil men. And if they had had religion in their lives, they just would have found a way to twist it and pervert it into a form that would somehow justify their actions. This kind of thing is happening and has happened throughout history. You interpret the Bible in a way that supports your ambition, good or bad. Let's look at a guy like Saddam Hussein. He was a religious man, wasn't exactly the model of morality. Saddam Hussein didn't kill thousands of people in the name of religion any more than Adolf Hitler did it in the name of atheism. They did it because they were power-hungry lunatics. Now the big difference is people often commit heinous acts in the name of religion. Creationists would have you believe that Hitler did the things he did because he was an atheist, but none of his actions were in the name of atheism. There are, however, thousands and thousands of examples in history, and even today, of harm being done to people in the name of religion. Everything from the Crusades and the Inquisitions to the suicide bombers of today. Religion has far more blood on its hands than atheism ever will. Morality and religion have been around for a very, very long time, but morality has changed significantly over the last 1,000 years, 100 years, even 50 years. A good example is in World War II, dropping bombs on civilians was considered morally okay. It is considered completely immoral today, and that was 60 years ago. Religion was just as strong back then, if not stronger than it was today. You would think that people being as religious as they were at the time would find it immoral to drop bombs on other human beings, on civilians. But they didn't. It was perfectly acceptable. So morality has changed that much in just 60 years. So how can we say that people of religion have more morals than people without religion? It's ridiculous. Torture is another example of something that was morally acceptable throughout history despite religion. There are thousands of examples of morality changing even over the last decades, despite people having religion in their lives. I don't need a babysitter in the sky or his life lessons for me to know what's right or wrong. If religion helped with morality, we wouldn't need laws or jails in the countries where religion is a way of life. But we do need jails, and we do need police. Because in the end, we are human beings, we are animals. And it doesn't matter how religious or moral you are, we think like animals. And if you had an island full of extremely religious Catholic people and you had no law there, it would turn into chaos. Morality would go out the window. Then we have priests. Priests are the messengers of God. I mean, they're one step away from the big man themselves. And you would think that they would be the most moral people that you would ever meet. If life without religion is a life without morals, then it stands to reason that priests lead exceptionally moral lives compared to the rest of us. Now, despite all of that, the raping of small boys by priests is all over the news all the time. It isn't an isolated incident or two, it's everywhere. So how can these priests, the models of morality, suddenly become rapists of children? Well, I have a theory. Man evolved from apes and consequently have very specific instincts that are conducive to survival and propagating the species. Men think about sex because that leads us to having sex. Having sex leads us to having children, and having children guarantees that a species survives. All animals have sex to survive, and the urge to having sex is not unique to human beings. All animals do it because it's necessary for a species to survive to have sex. So we tell priests to suppress those urges, but of course many men can't do that. So they do the only thing they can do. They prey on the weak. The fact that a priest who spends his entire life serving God can't control his sexual urges makes a strong case for the argument that we are descended from apes and that we are in fact animals.